Welcome to Fresh Outlook. This is our first show of 2014. We wish all of our viewers in the U.S. and abroad a Happy New Year, and as always, it's good to have your company. Well, here in New Jersey, we're about 25 miles west of New York City. This is where we film Fresh Outlook. It is about 10 degrees today, but we're not the only ones battling with record cold temperatures. Nearly half the U.S., 140 million people, will shiver in temperatures of 0 or lower this week. Now, this polar vortex is caused by counterclockwise rotating pool of cold air that's coming from the North Pole. Now, if you are under 40 years of age or younger, it is the coldest weather you have ever experienced in your lifetime. Schools are already canceled for many parts of the U.S. for next week. So we hope wherever you are keeping safe and warm. Now, we're going to have much more on the weather later in the show, but first we're going to also talk about today on the show about Snapchat being hacked. It's the latest in a series of high-profile information breaches at companies around the world, and that has us asking the question, is any of our information safe anymore? And we will move over to New York City and talk about the man who has taken over the reins. We are, of course, talking about Mayor Bill de Blasio. But right now, we begin with Edward Snowden. In his words, the 30-year-old whistleblower said, "I am not trying to bring down the NSA. I am working to improve the NSA." But what entitled Snowden to take on that responsibility? Here's more on the man who has captured the world's attention.
Nice to speak with you and your family this year.
Former NSA contractor Edward Snowden's revelations about the United States spying activities on the world resulted in rising global anger and debate over surveillance and civil liberties. But his mass disclosure of top-secret data has earned him spying charges. And now, both The Guardian and The New York Times are backing Snowden's decision to go public and call on President Barack Obama to take mercy on him and grant him clemency. In an editorial in The New York Times, the newspaper acknowledged that Snowden broke the law in leaking data on the NSA's vast surveillance and data collection programs, and says,
"Considering the enormous value of the information he has revealed and the abuses he has exposed, Mr. Snowden deserves better than a life of permanent exile, fear, and flight. He may have committed a crime to do so, but he has done his country a great service." The Guardian was the first newspaper that reported Snowden's leaks and have also pleaded to the American president. "We hope that calm heads within the present administration are working on a strategy to allow Mr. Snowden to return to the U.S. with dignity and the president to use his executive powers to treat him humanely and in a manner that would be a shining example about the value of whistleblowers and of free speech itself." Snowden is currently living in Russia under temporary asylum. He faces espionage charges in connection with his leaks, which U.S. officials have described as damaging or even life-threatening. But talk of amnesty has been circling now for weeks after the idea of it was first floated by a senior NSA official.
And of course, the NSA, accustomed to watching without being watched, is now facing a great deal of scrutiny because of Edward Snowden. Now, to talk more about the NSA, we welcome former White House aide Didi Benke to the show, media analyst Jackie Guzda, and Dr. Jose Lopez from Seton Hall University. And Happy New Year again to everyone. I know we said Happy New Year last week, but you can never say it enough, right?
Right.
All right. Well, we're talking about Edward Snowden, and the question, we'll take the temperature here since we are also talking temperatures today. Did he do a great service to the country, or did he commit a crime? And we'll start off with you, Didi.
Terrible crime. Highest treason ever. I mean, he's weakened our country and such a terrible traitor. And it's amazing to me that the New York Times, as bad as the New York Times can be, so liberal, would go this far. I mean, this is anti-American. I'm just flabbergasted by it all, really.
Jackie?
I would be very careful about taking the New York Times down. On their editorial board, they have many Harvard Nieman Fellows, Pulitzer Prize winners. They've been a bastion of great journalism forever, since before the 1800s. Now, Edward Snowden, I've said before on this show, he's a little bit good, he's a little bit bad. He showed us things that we have had to see that a whistleblower does show that the government made mistakes on. Now, should he have taken and revealed all that? That's another story.
And Dr. Lopez, he also said this week, mission accomplished. That's what Snowden said in 14 hours of interviews. Do you think that he had the right to take on this responsibility to become a whistleblower?
Absolutely not. I mean, is he a whistleblower? Yes. Was he the right guy to do it? No. Why is he doing it? I think it's a lot of individual fame. That's what he's looking for. He comes from a group, a generation of kids who think that what he's doing is important. What he's doing is he started a debate, which I applaud him for, but the fact that he's living in Russia right now looks, from the segment we saw there, it looks like he's living in the Tsar's mansion these days. I mean, that's, I think, the reason he really did it. It was a lot of ego.
And let me ask you a question. He also said, all I wanted was for the public to be able to have a say in how they are governed. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I'm one of the folks who trusts my government more or less to an extent. Of course, I said it many times on this show, I think what they're doing, this dragnet that they're doing is not that they're trying to spy on every single individual in the United States. They're looking for things that are out of the norm, things that could be dangerous, that would hurt many, many people. So, I mean, I think that is a responsibility of our government to do that. I applaud the NSA for what they do, the analysts they have working there, the computer scientists that are putting these algorithms, these codes together, for what they do. I think what they do is patriotic, is important.
Let's talk about right now about the New York Times and some of the other newspapers that have come on board. We've never really seen anything like this where they're pleading now to the president. What are your thoughts just on the Times? I know you touched on this, Dee Dee, but just on the Times and the newspapers getting involved and asking for clemency.
I just think it's infuriating that any newspaper, even the left-wing Times, would go this far. I mean, this is a traitor.
Well, they're not the only one, though.
Well, that's true, but they've led the way, and they've been, I think, the strongest. But any newspaper, and really any American that would think that it was just so important to give him clemency, it's one thing that you don't want him hanged. Look, I think he should be hanged and quartered. I mean, I am so mad at this guy that at this point in time, I think death penalty. And I'm not joking, because he has damaged us that much. I feel that strongly about this guy. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. So for these people to say, hey, let's give him a pass, then we reward bad behavior. That means our government says, hey, you know what? We'll give you a pass, even though you really weakened our government and you weakened our country. But that's okay, no problem.
And Jackie, I know that you are one of the people that supports giving him a pass. Is that fair to say?
I wouldn't say that we should give him a pass. But look, the New York Times is one of our premier newspapers, if not the premier newspaper in this country. What is their job?
That's just your opinion. No, I think it's the worst newspaper.
Of course you do. What is their job?
To report news.
Yes, and
but not to tell the president to let a traitor off the hook.
Nobody's saying that. The job of journalism.
They are saying that. They're asking for
all right, so wait, I'll get there. I'll get there. But the job of journalism is to speak truth to power, to take a look at what the government is doing and expose it if it is wrong.
Well, it's not just the facts, though. This is editorial, which papers
but I know that
this is an op-ed piece.
It's an op-ed piece.
Yeah, it's an op-ed piece. I know that you agree with that concept. So by saying that it's horrible for the Times or for other papers to take a stand is wrong. That's what the job of journalism is in this country.
But not when it goes to the point of being so
All right, let me finish. Now, should we give him a pass? I'm not saying we should. I do believe that we should bargain with him because he's got more information that we want to know about.
Well, what kind of a precedent?
And the Rush already has it.
But what kind of precedent will it set, in your opinion, if they do pardon him in some way?
But it's not a precedent. I mean, that's what happened with Daniel Ellsberg. So it's not something that's happening new for the first time.
But this is a scope where it's never been a scope like this.
But look, ladies and gentlemen, what is the damage that he's done?
What?
Let's verbalize. All right,
well, it
because
depends.
I want to analyze
this is such a polarizing issue.
No, I want to analyze.
How many hours do you have?
But there's no. This is not. It's almost a black or white issue with Edward Snowden. There's almost no gray area. You're either on the side that he's a traitor or you.
No, I understand that, but I'm talking about the damage that he's done to our country. What is that?
Dee Dee, let's take that one. Wait,
let's verbalize it and then analyze it.
Okay, well, it would take hours, and I'm not a military expert, but my goodness, I mean, these like the schematic of all kinds of military secrets, that alone weakens us, Jackie. I mean, what he did was unbelievable. Look, Jose knows.
I want Dr. Lopez.
The scope of it is unbelievable and so bad. It absolutely has weakened and damaged us, and the whole world is laughing.
Let me have Dr. Lopez just touch on some of the I guess you might talk about some of the scientific ends of this, of what he's done.
Look, it has hurt us, absolutely. Internally, our government is weaker, our country is weaker, no doubt about it. China, Russia, all these countries are constantly spying on us. They don't spy like, this is not the Cold War where they're meeting in Petrovska Park and they're exchanging rubles and for information. It's all online. It's all technological. We're an interconnected planet right now. And what he has done, and he showed the vulnerability of the weapons we have to understand what's going on, what our threats are to our national security. So right there, that is a very, very dangerous thing that's happened. I absolutely agree in that sense.
Let me also just say, Snowden said other colleagues at the NSA had been concerned that the agency had been spying on more Americans in America than Russians in Russia. And he was not entirely comfortable with the data that they were sharing and collecting on ordinary citizens. He said he brought his concerns to at least 4 superiors and 15 colleagues in the NSA.
I don't know. I don't quite believe him. I don't believe anything this guy says because he's so malevolent and such a bad guy. Who knows? Really, okay, he tried. He should have tried 44 people before he went and did this. Now he's hanging out in Russia with the enemy, and he's given the whole world the schematic and our plan and our secrets. So you know what? Does he really deserve the benefit of a doubt? No.
I mean, I think the one thing he does deserve the benefit, which I completely agree with Jackie, is he started the conversation. Should he have done what he done? He went to Hong Kong, to China initially, asked them, take me in, and they said no, and then go to Russia and say, take me in. And Vladimir Putin, with all the issues that are happening now internationally, took him in. I just completely disagree with that. But he started a conversation about when the government has this type of information that they can know what's going on with us, how are they going to use it? And that's, I think, really where the conversation, the New York Times is not seeing this, the Post, the Observer, no one's talking about this. Okay, so you have this information about Dee Dee. You see that she likes to do certain things. Does that have to do anything with national security? We should be having that kind of conversation.
And we shouldn't be having a conversation with those people. Well, I mean, forget it. I mean, no matter what.
Let's talk about, because I think there begs the question in the new year, does he have more information? Dr. Lopez, yes or no?
It's hard to tell. I mean, he was very low level, but the way the intelligence community and the Department of Defense works is pretty much the people at the high levels don't know how to manipulate this information. They don't know how to run that technology. So really the low level people there, the people that you think would be at the bottom of the totem pole, really know what's going on in many cases. So who knows really what he's taking? There's a lot of speculation. The fact that Russia's taking him temporarily in asylum tells me there's something going on there. He might have some further information.
Do you think that he should come back to the U.S.?
No, absolutely not.
Jackie? Uh-oh. I got that look.
If I might, last week you were up in arms because James Clapper lied to Congress, correct?
Yeah.
Right. How did we find out he lied?
Because he testified in front of Congress?
Right, and we knew that it was a lie because Snowden gave us that information. We also know
that is not a reason to jump at Snowden now. I mean, you brought up all the
one reason. Number two, we also know that the NSA has committed crimes by what they've done. How do we know that? By the information that was leaked by Snowden. The FISA court was up in arms. They called what the NSA is doing Orwellian. How do we know that? We know that because of the information leaked by Snowden. He has done some very good things beyond just opening the conversation for this country.
We are not better off for all this. I mean, you all may think so, but I absolutely think we're weak and we're not better off. It's bad for our country.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the newspapers continue to plead to President Obama in the coming days and weeks. I did say there was one interesting point about his 14 hours of interview. He said he does not drink. He said he never has, and all he eats is ramen noodles. I wasn't sure.
And now we know not only is he a traitor, he's a weird traitor. Okay, fine.
All right. We're going to thank you for your thoughts on this. Don't go away, everyone. If you haven't heard, Snapchat has been hacked. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at why tech companies keep dismissing warnings from security experts.